Hello.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Wow.
Welcome.
Wow, it's Sunday.
Sunday again.
Welcome back, everybody. We just had a 45-minute chat that was like 15 minutes. Time
was
to
it 45 or 15?
Well, no, I said it was like it
felt
was
like
15.
15.
Yeah. It just went by like that.
No picture goes fast.
Yeah. So I know that everybody's looking at my sister right now, and it's very, very dim light, but just she got a new light. No, I like it. I kept telling her that's what I talked about for 45 minutes. I like the light. It's a softer light.
Oh, wait a minute. I've been here
I
for a
was
few
using a
minutes. You
makeup
weren't talking
light.
about a light.
And you light it
First
up, and
half
so
an
it's lights up on the top and the bottom.
Yeah, but I like that.
I went to put, so I got a stand-up light, and so it's like pointed towards.
It's not as bad as you keep saying it is. It's just a
It
softer.
It looks fine to me. I didn't really notice anything until you said something about
Yeah,
light.
there's a difference in the contrast of the lights. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Anyway, hey Jody. I
Jody.
hope everybody has had a great week.
Yes. Part of
Yes.
Creation versus evolution.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
It's about done, huh?
No.
But she's working on it though.
Yeah, I was actually
Making
able to
progress.
get past the really difficult part where it was buffering a lot, and I went on YouTube and took their advice on what to do, and I was like,
Awesome.
Isn't
Isn't the internet awesome?
Yeah, I think the video that I put on I think the video that I downloaded is just something wrong with the video probably.
Yeah.
So that was probably the problem. But it's back on track. So I get off work at 5:30 tomorrow, and I work until 8 o'clock on Tuesday because they needed someone to work till 8 on Tuesday. So when I get off of work, then I can start working on the videos tomorrow.
So do I send the prayer tomorrow or Tuesday?
Tuesday. You can send it tomorrow.
Okay.
Tuesday.
Her line day.
My sister has really great prayers. It's like Psalms.
Wow. Like Psalms.
Yeah, they're very well. I told you it's like they're scripted or something. I
do. I go on the internet and I go, what is a really, really nice prayer that's like Psalms?
Honey,
and then I copy it and paste it. Yeah. Tell me what I should pray, and I'll type it out to her. No, I don't know.
Oh, your prayers are so much better than mine. When I talk to God, I just talk to Him like I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah. I do too.
So we'll just call you Davette from now on.
But not Vanna.
David's sister.
Not. Did he have a sister?
Doesn't say anything. I might say something. I don't remember.
Not Vanna.
Betty Boop.
That's so funny.
Anyway, so it's finally on track, and I'm so glad because I was sweating through that.
Yeah. Well, we're waiting. Hurry it up. Chop, chop. Time is money. Time is money.
I had to order another chair for my back. So I'm getting a gamer's chair. I got to test one out at Staples.
Oh. Can you adjust it? The left, like the height of it or the... Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
It's got a higher back than this. It probably comes up to like here. And then it's got a massaging thing for your for your back, your back.
Wow.
Got a footrest. If I want to bring it in my room, I got a little footrest. I can put my feet up. But I probably won't because I put my feet on the bed.
She'll be so relaxed, she'll fall asleep while she's working. They'll be yelling at her and she'll be like...
I had to do that too. I had to spring for a really expensive chair. It was the X chair, and it's but it has
It's
like
inexpensive.
every single little thing can be adjusted, and it's got the lower back support and all that. And since I got it, my back has been so much better. It was definitely worth it.
You know, sitting in this chair right now, I'm okay because I'm sitting with my back against the back of the chair. But when I'm working, I sit up like this.
Oh yeah.
So I need a chair that's gonna
The
be
back
up against
comes
my
up
back.
with you.
Yeah, so I can sit straight up like this because it feels more comfortable for me to be sitting like that than just typing.
Yeah.
So I'm so
Awesome.
happy, and it's
good.
black.
Do you know how to put it together? I asked you that, but you never said anything. I was like, do you know how to put
It
this
has instructions.
Good luck.
Just get one.
She'll be
step
like,
at a
Kel, can you get Dan on the phone? Since she does that, she makes it sound like she's really calling me, but she's really calling him because she has questions. But that's okay.
That's all good.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so please.
You're our sister in more ways than one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So please subscribe to this channel if you have not. And if you have, thank you so much. Please give it a big thumbs up. And I noticed the last video, we had a lot of thumbs up. There was a lot of people that liked the video, and I was really happy. So please do that and share this video with your friends.
Yeah, we're just so charming.
Yeah, we are. We're so charming.
Hopefully you like what I'm teaching, and
this is going to be a
share
good
it
Bible
with
study
your friends and your family.
Yeah. Turn on the notification bell, because YouTube's acting really weird.
Hey, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Welcome.
He's
Good to see you.
back. Yeah, he's been gone for a little while.
Yeah.
But he's back.
Went on vacation.
Yeah. We
South
miss
America,
seeing you in here.
somewhere. I forget. He said
South
in the email,
America.
but I forgot.
South America.
San Juan.
Daniel, where were
like
you? South America? Somewhere.
that.
Do people on YouTube see us right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're on YouTube. You're on Zoom, so you can't see what they're doing, but
Yeah, because
You
you can't
see
see
the
the
chat.
chat.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, take it away.
Oh
He said San Juan, Puerto Rico. Right?
yeah, San Juan. Yeah.
San Juan, Puerto Rico. I would
Awesome.
love to go to Puerto Rico.
me too.
I heard it's really inexpensive too.
So today is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're on Revelation, and we got to Revelation chapter 14, and I got to show you this. I got to turn off all that news stuff. Why do I want to see all that when I go to? So this, we've talked about this so many times, and it's when we looked at the 3.5 year time period that we see in chapter 11, 12, and 13, and that's the time of the Antichrist. Remember, it's that 42 months. It's that 3.5 years. The time times and a half, and 42 months, and 1,260 days. I mean, it all shows us that 3.5 year period. And then chapter 14, after we see who the Antichrist is and the false prophet, and we see all the stuff that they're going to be doing during this time, this is that beast from Daniel 7, remember. Then chapter 14 and 15 and 16 go into the wrath of God. Chapter 14 shows us the rapture, the gathering of the saints, and then the winepress of the wrath of God being pressed, basically tread upon. And chapters 15 and 16 tell us what the wrath of God is. And then chapters 17 and 18 actually tell us about this entity that exists. And it's kind of like the same as like in chapter 7 of Revelation, right? We've got this whole other series of this other vision, right? And you've got these other visions that are kind of nestled in, and sometimes it's stuff that's happening at the same time. And that's the case here with Revelation 17 and 18, is that it's telling us about this entity which God calls the great whore. And it's this entity that exists, and at the end of the wrath of God, it talks about her destruction. And then in chapter 19, so at the end of chapter 16 is her destruction. Then chapter 19 starts on her destruction again after talking about her, and then goes into the Battle of Armageddon, which is at the end of the wrath of God. It's the last vial basically is poured out, and that's when Christ returns and actually destroys the armies. So chapter 14 goes into the rapture and starts on the wrath, and then 15 and 16 are the wrath of God. Chapter 19 concludes the wrath of God and the coming of Christ, and 17 and 18 are about this entity. So I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to skip 14, 15, and 16 and go right into chapter 17 and 18 today. And then next week we'll go back to 14, 15, 16, and 19, because they're all consecutive. Basically, they talk about the wrath of God, and 17 and 18 are just talking about this entity that exists. Mm-hmm. And it exists at the time of the reign of the Antichrist, and even before. It's this entity that has basically turned her back on God, and it talks about her destruction. So we're going to talk about Revelation 17 and 18 today, and then, like I said, next week we'll go back to 14, and we'll go through the wrath of God and the rapture, gathering of the saints, and all that. Mm-hmm. So. And I want to point this out first. There's people out there that say chapters 17 and 18 are talking about different entities. And anytime anybody brings anything like that up to me, I always go and study it. Well, is there any truth to that? And so I did a long time ago, and I basically came to the conclusion, no, I don't think that they're correct in saying that it's a different entity. And here's why. I'm just going to show you real quick. I've got scriptures from both 17 and 18 lined up here, where we see the same thing. This is Babylon the Great, right? This is the kings of the earth committed fornication with her. And same in 18, the kings of the earth committed fornication with her. She's arrayed in purple and scarlet, decked with gold, precious stones, and pearls, clothed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, decked with gold, precious. I mean, you can see it's exactly the same verbiage. It's the same entity. The woman which thou sawest is that great city. Alas, alas, the great city. The woman drunken with the blood of the saints, right? And the blood of the martyrs. In her was found the blood of the prophets and of the saints and all that were slain upon the earth. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet. How much she hath glorified herself and lived delicious. She saith in her heart, I sit a queen, am no widow, so on and so forth. It's the same entity.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, Jay, welcome, brother. So I wanted to show you that, first of all, because I just want to dispel that in case you've heard it, that Revelation 17 and 18 are different. They're not. It's just talking about the same entity. Just like Revelation 16 talks about the destruction of this entity. 17 and 18 go into who this entity is. And then Revelation 19 talks about her destruction again and finishes the wrath of God and the coming of the Lord. The Battle of Armageddon. So this is the same entity. This, I will show thee to judgment of the great whore. For in 1 hour thy judgment is come. This is the same entity, both in Revelation 17 and 18. And then on this article, I go into where 14, 16 talk about Babylon being fallen. And it's important to understand that this is not the Babylon of the time of Daniel. This is not some resurrection of that entity. This is a mystery. This is a spiritual Babylon. This is mystery Babylon the Great, right? The mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So this is not some, real city, or in the sense of that it's Babylon. it is a real city, but it's not the Babylon of the Old Testament. So it's important to understand that. So we're going to talk about who this entity is, but I'm going to talk about a lot more stuff that is associated with this entity and what's going on in the world today, because there's a lot of conjecture about who the puppet master is, who's pulling the strings of all of these people, right? And I'll say this several times throughout tonight. The puppets, the ones we see, the Bill Gates, the Elon Musk, the Klaus Schwab, all of Soros, all of these people are the puppets. These are not the puppet master. They're the ones that you see. They're the ones, the actors on the stage. The man behind the curtain is not the one that you see. So it's important to understand that. A lot of people think that they are the puppet masters. Well, no, they're not. They're the puppets. They're the ones doing the will of the master. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So who is this puppet master, right? Who is this entity? And I stole this picture. Borrowed this picture from the internet. Huh?
She looks a little risque.
And she's faceless. She doesn't really have an identity. And I chose it because it very much represents this entity.
A female?
Because a female, for one thing, and because she's kind of faceless. It's not that people don't know who she is. It's just they don't identify her.
Yeah.
And so that's why I chose a faceless picture, basically, the entity. So, and we talked about this last week. I'm just going to touch on it briefly because not last week, on Wednesday, we went through this about Israel versus Christianity, and that, there is no such thing as Judeo-Christianity. Israel is not a godly country, not by any stretch of the imagination. She's one of the worst as far as when it comes to the LGBTQ plus 0, -5, whatever stuff, and
-5.
and it's, she's a very sinful nation right now. And it's not that she's any worse than anywhere else. She's just a sinful nation, just like other nations, just like the United States, just like Europe. I mean, it's very, very, these countries are all very sinful. And she's just one of them. She is not anything special. She is not God's people. They are modern day Pharisees. These Orthodox Jews that are practicing Judaism are really just modern day Pharisees, the same people that Jesus was rebuking 2,000 years ago. So, we talked about this Wednesday. I'm not going to rehash it all, but Jesus remarked that they are Abraham's seed. The Pharisees, they were actually blood Jews, right? But what he said was, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. You would believe in me, right? And because of your unbelief, you are of the devil. Your father is the devil. That's what he said. And I wanted to note this in 1 John 3. It tells us, in this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doth not righteousness is not of God. It's anyone who doesn't believe in Jesus, that doesn't love him and follow him, is a child of the devil. You're either of God or you're of the devil. There is no in between. There's nothing else. You're either the children of God or you're the children of the devil, one or the other. So it's not just the Jews. He was, of course, talking to the Pharisees here, but it's not just the Jews that are children of Satan. Anyone who does not believe in Jesus and love him and follow him is a child of the devil. So it's important to understand that. And like I said, I'm not going to rehash it all. We talked about it Wednesday. So anyone who missed Wednesday, please go and watch that video. It might be interesting. So then we talked about who the real Jews are, right? If we're Christ's, then we are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise, right? We are joint heirs. We're fellow heirs with Messianic Jews. The Jews that don't believe in Jesus are broken off. They're hewn off the tree of Messianic Jews. Those Jews that love Jesus are the tree that we are grafted into, and we become joint heirs with them. So it's important to understand that, and like I said, talked about it Wednesday, so I'm not going to go into it in great detail. Anyone who does not believe in Jesus is of the synagogue of Satan. Anyone who calls themselves a Christian but doesn't love Jesus is one that Jesus was referring to, who says calls themselves Jews and are not. If you say you're a Christian, but you don't love Jesus and you don't follow him and obey him, you're a fake Jew. You're a fake Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I bring that up just because that's the truth of the matter. We are of the synagogue of Satan if we say we're Christians, but we don't obey him. If we're not a real Christian, if we don't really love Jesus and obey him, we are the children of the devil. We're of the synagogue of Satan. So enough of that. So now let's talk about, are the Jews, the fake Jews, the enemy? Are they the deep state? Are they the secret society? Are they the ones that are responsible for all the lies and deception and these all powerful oligarchs that control everything? Are they all Jews? No, they're not. There's some of them are, certainly, but they're not all Jews. And it's important to remember that these oligarchs and these people that have the face that we can recognize, the face that we can see, the ones that are speaking these words at the WEF and things like that, these are the puppets. These are not the puppet master. These are the puppets. And it's important to recognize that and understand that. The puppet master is behind the curtain. And so, and one thing that really struck me, and it was recently when it was actually somebody on the live stream, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was, pointed out this scripture. I think it might have been Sheila, but I don't remember for sure. But Revelation 18, we're talking about Revelation 17 and 18, who is the great whore, according to God. And it says in Revelation 18:23 that for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. It's by the sorceries of the great whore that the nations are deceived. Now, if you look at the word sorceries in the Bible, it's pharmakeia or pharmakia. And it's like, that's where the word pharmacy comes from. It's the use of drugs, potions, and enchantments. And one of the things that I noted here is that in Mickelson's Enhanced Strong's Dictionary is, by extension, the word sorceries is the occult or witchcraft, as giving control to demons in exchange for monetary, though treacherous, benefit. So it's like selling your soul to Satan for money and power, right? Now we're going to talk a little bit later about what these Luciferians do for power. And it's very much associated with this. But it's important to understand that it's by these things from this great whore, this entity, that the nations are deceived. And it doesn't say some nations, all nations are deceived by this entity. So who is this entity, right? If she's responsible, who is she? Well, think about it for a second. If it was Israel, I'm going to look at, I've got a little list here of the things that Revelation 17 tells us about this entity, that she's a woman or church that sits on many peoples, nations, and tongues. She will ride the power of the Antichrist and his union of nations. It shows her actually riding on the seven-headed, 10-horned beast of Revelation 13. She's very rich and powerful. She's wearing purple and scarlet. She's the mother of harlots. So she gave birth to false churches. She's a city that sits on 7 hills.
The Catholic Church?
It fits her to a T. Yes. And does she fit Israel? No, not really. Israel doesn't wear purple and scarlet. She's not the mother of false churches. She's not a city that sits on 7 hills. She's not a city that reigns over the kings of the earth. Remember, she's not the king. She rules the kings. She tells the kings what to do. She's drunken with the blood of the saints. And the kings of the earth commit adultery with her. So now think of this entity and think about all the oligarchs that control the world and they, right? Who is this they? Who is pulling the strings? Who is doing all this? Think about this like the last half of this list. And think about the oligarchs. Well, they reign over the kings of the earth, right? These puppets are telling the nation's rulers what to do, right? But she's the one telling them what to tell them, right? These puppets that are the face are simply obeying their master. They're not the master. They're not the puppet master. They're the puppets that are also controlling other puppets. It's like you'd have multiple layers. You got a puppet master that's controlling puppets that are also controlling other puppets. It's a multi-layered thing that's going on here. And Satan has been very, 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 very busy setting all of this up.
And he's really smart.
And he's a very powerful fallen angel that has almost complete control of this world. And it's because he set this up. He has this entity that is doing his bidding, that basically stays out of the limelight, does everything to make sure that nobody is accusing her of being this entity. Yeah. And then at the same time pointing the finger at other things. And we're going to talk about that. So when we look at all of these things, she actually fits really, really well. And I'm going to show you this because we've gone through this in previous Bible studies, but I'm not sure everyone that will be watching it today will have seen that. So I'm going to quickly go through this. This is on my website under present day, right? So if you go to biblical prophecy, the first section, and go to chapter 7, which is prophecy in the present time, that's where I'm at. And I'm about halfway down the article, if you look at where the scroll bar is here, and talking about who is the great whore. There's a lot of theories about what she might be that don't fit. There's only one entity in the world that actually fits this to a T, and that is the Catholic Church. She's a woman, a church that sits on many peoples and nations. If you look at this map, this is where the Catholic Church lives. The whole world. Some are almost 100% Catholic. Most of the world is not 100% Catholic, but the Catholic Church lives virtually in every nation on the earth. Everywhere. She's a church, definitely. Yeah, that's St. Peter's Basilica right there. Jeez. She's she's very, very rich and powerful. There's been numerous articles about how much the Vatican actually has. They're trying to say nowadays that she's going broke because people are kind of not contributing as much, but she's still a bloated, very, very rich entity.
Yeah, they got their own bank.
Well, yeah. And that's what, there was
Seven Hills. Yeah, he's going to show you.
Yeah, we're going to look at that, Jay. That there was a pope that was murdered accidentally, had some mysterious death. This pope was murdered shortly after being elected pope because he was going to expose the Vatican Bank's corruption, and died mysteriously as soon as he announced he was going to do that. So there's article after article. You can go research how much money she has. She's wearing purple and scarlet. Hello. That's the bishops and archbishops and cardinals of the Catholic Church wear purple and scarlet. She's a city that sits on 7 hills and reigns over the kings of the earth and is drunken by the blood of the saints. So what is Rome? These are the daughters, by the way, all of these churches.
The 7
But it's in the Catholic Encyclopedia itself that says it is within the city of Rome, called the City of 7 Hills, that the entire area of the Vatican state proper is now confined. The Vatican is virtually sitting on 7 mountains.
Annie, look at the name on there.
The name.
It says the Catholic Encyclopedia by.
Oh, Thomas Nelson. Yeah.
Oh, right. I was looking on the picture. I was like,
No.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at too.
Oh,
But this is a book. I have a picture of the cover of the book because, this is something that's very well known.
yeah.
That Rome is the city of 7 hills. This entity sits on 7 mountains, right? Which is the Vatican state proper is in Rome, confined within Rome. This is the St. Peter's Basilica, part of the Vatican, and it's very much, it fits this entity so well. We're going to look at that picture again later because it's important to understand these things. There's been things that just popped out at me about this.
Yeah.
For one is that, it's this entity that is responsible for deceiving the nations. And then we're going to look at some other stuff. She reigns over the kings of the earth. Well, the Catholic Church does not have a standing army. She's not a conquering nation. But when she takes over a country by gradually becoming more and more and more Catholic, when a country becomes the majority Catholic, the Catholic Church reigns over the king of that country.
Yeah, they answer to the Catholic Church. Yeah.
Just like Great Britain, they're really slaves to the church. The king and queen are not in, sovereign power. They answer to the church. And every country that is majority Catholic, it answers to the church. And so the Vatican's really the only city that can be said to reign over the kings of the earth. Remember, they're not the king themselves. They simply tell the king what to do. They reign over them. The woman is drunken with the blood of the saints. Now, how many Christians has the Catholic Church put to death? An estimated 68 million had been put to death from the Catholic Church because they refused to bow to the false doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church. She fits everything of this entity to a T. And it's, the nations have drunk the wine of her fornication. If you have been following Pope Francis at all, he is so busy in everything. He's at the WEF. He even sponsored the WEF meeting in 2020. He is very, 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 very busy, involved in all of these things. He is a very, very important man in the world. And I know that it's one of those things that a lot of people don't really, it's like you don't really see that the Catholic Church is all that involved. But if you look at it, she's very involved in everything going on in the world. So when we look at this entity, this one that's responsible by her sorceries for deceiving the nations, it is almost 100%, locked in that it is the Catholic Church, because she fits everything. God told us all these things that would fit her. And if something you think it is doesn't fit any one of these things, then that's not it, right? People say it's the United States. Well, the United States is not a city. It doesn't fit. And they say, well, it's New York. Well, New York doesn't fit all of these things. How does New York wear purple and scarlet? How is New York the mother of harlots? How is New York the church that sits on many peoples and nations and tongues? There's everything has to fit. The only entity on this earth that fits this to a T is the Catholic Church. And if you want to go, you can go and look at that. I showed you where it was on my website. There's also a video link on that page shortly after this. When I talk about the Antichrist, you can go to the videos which talk about the false prophet and the Antichrist, and I go into all of that stuff. Please do. But we're going to talk about some other things now, because remember, the actors are not the puppet master, right? The ones that you see their face, and you see them saying what they're saying, and they're, the Soroses and the oligarchs, right? All of these men that are doing these things are the puppets. So, and here's the thing too, is if we believe, and so many people believe that the Jews are somehow these all-powerful oligarchs that control everything, just because Soros and Klaus Schwab, and granted, many other people involved in this are Jews, but
not all of them.
Many, many, many other people involved in this are not Jews. It's not all of them. And then
a lot of them are Catholic, though.
True. Yes, very much so. And so the UN, for example, if the Jews are these all-powerful oligarchs that control everything, then why is the UN never on the side of Israel? The UN, just in December 1st, 2022, that the UN said that it was a shameful disgrace, that Israel's establishment was a catastrophe. If the Jews are these all-powerful oligarchs that control everything, why don't they control anything?
Yeah.
Right? They don't. And then, they're supposed to control the world's media. It's all controlled by the Jews. Well, how come the media is never on the side of the Jews when it comes to the war with Hamas and the Palestinians? They're always condemning Israel for their inhumane war. Even though Hamas is lobbing missiles at Israel and killing civilians and trying to just kill as many as they can, the mainstream media only focuses on Israel's retaliation and condemns Israel for that. True. Even though the Palestinians are hiding their military behind civilians and children. Mm-hmm. They hide their military under schools and things like that, because then if Israel were to try to target that military installation, they could scream, "Look, they killed all these children." They do it on purpose. They hide behind children. Yeah. They're despicable, pathetic, awful people. And so why does the mainstream media focus on that if the Jews control everything? Mm-hmm. Why doesn't the mainstream media show us this? Which they don't. You'll never see that on the mainstream media, because the Jews don't control the media. It's obvious they don't control the media. Otherwise, the Jews would be glorified in everything. Mm-hmm. It's kind of silly that people think that there's all-powerful oligarchs that control everything, but they don't control much of anything at all.
Their ideas don't even hold water. It doesn't make sense. So.
Yeah. And there's a reason for it. That conversely, there's a entity somewhere in the world is trying to make us hate the Jews. They want us to hate the Jews. right? That's what's obvious when you really look at this. There's also a link on this page on how powerful are these old powerful Jews, and I highly recommend people going and reading this. It's on jihadwatch.org. There's a link on this page, which is the first. If you go to my newsletter archive, let me show you here. Go here. If you go to my notes menu, go to the e-newsletters archive. It's the very first one on the list. It's Who's the Puppet Master. So you can find that. You can go to this link and read that. I recommend it. It's a very good article. It talks about Kanye and all the stuff going on right now. If they're so powerful, how come they don't have any power? It's kind of strange. They don't really control much of anything at all. When you really look at it, there's some very rich and powerful Jews.
Yeah.
But so are there plenty of other people who are very rich and powerful and very much a part of this that are not Jews. So there's something or someone trying to make us think it's the Jews, right? That's the obvious thing.
Yeah.
Now, the world doesn't hate the Vatican, but how much do we know about the Vatican? We know that there's massive pedophilia, child rape. They've murdered millions and millions of people over the last 1,700 years. How come we don't hate them? How come nobody ever talks about that?
Yeah.
It comes up in the news, but then it's kind of just brushed aside and it goes away pretty quick. When a priest is caught raping a boy, these things. Why? Let me ask this question. Why would anyone care so much about this tiny little nation of Israel? Why do people care so much? If you look at the population of the world and look at how many are Jews, it's like such a tiny, tiny little percentage.
Yeah, it is.
They're just tiny little group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, some of them are rich, but here's the thing I want you to think about. And I wanted to bring this up too, because, people say, well, they're occupying Palestine. Well, they're taking land that they claim is theirs. They're pushing out the locals. And if you believe the Bible, then you understand that it is their land, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even if it weren't their land, let me ask you this. What nation is not guilty of pushing out the locals and taking over? The United States?
The white man.
Yeah, come on.
Europe,
All of America.
European nations, Russia.
Yeah.
Russia has done this many times. China, oh yeah.
So it's typical behavior.
It's very typical behavior.
Mm-hmm.
People, they go in, they take over, they push out the locals, and they become the indigenous peoples. Why is it so? Why are we condemning Israel for doing exactly what every other nation does? And even the fact that it is actually Israel's land, and all of the archaeological digs that they're doing have proven over and over and over that there's ancient Israeli artifacts in that ground there, that it is the nation of Israel. But it's, but even if it wasn't, should we hate the United States? Because look what we did to the native Indians in this country,
Mm-hmm.
Well, we took over Alaska and Hawaii, and they're not even connected to our country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and Europe has done this.
Puerto Rico's Hispanic.
Yeah. Great Britain took over massive amounts of countries. Russia has done this. China's done. So it's like, why don't we hate everyone then? That's why people are saying they're so hateful of the Jews, because look what they're doing to the poor Palestinians. Even though the Palestinians are trying to kill them every chance they get, but it's just, it seems kind of silly. But here's the thing, just as I noted in my Who Is They article, if you haven't seen that, I've got a link to that here. at who is they, right? And it's Satan really is the ultimate puppet master. Satan is the one pulling the puppet strings of everyone, even this entity that's in between, right? There's Satan, there's this entity, and then there's all the puppets that are out there. And it's because people don't really see Satan for who he is. You know, in TV shows and movies and things, and I don't even, I mean, I'm sure in some churches they really talk about the dangers of Satan and how powerful he is. The Bible tells us that he's a very, very powerful fallen angel, that he is the father of lies, that it's by signs and wonders, by powerful signs and wonders that he's deceiving the world.
Mm-hmm.
He is a very powerful entity, and he literally has infiltrated our societies and taken over our governments and has almost complete control of this world right now.
Yeah.
And people don't recognize that. The Bible tells us we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is the battle raging all around us. And the devil has so many fronts. He has so many faces that he's set up in the world. The Freemasons, the Buddhists, the Muslims, the Catholics. These are all part of his face.
Yeah.
And if you don't know anything about the Catholics, I believe I have it under biblical truth and what is a false religion. I know I have this elsewhere, but I know I have it here. I talk about the Catholic Church and what she says you must do to be saved. And it has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. This is what you must do to be saved according to the Catholic Church.
But you know what? They hang a cross in their churches.
Yeah.
They make you think that they believe in God.
Yeah, they come in the name of Jesus.
Worship Mary.
Yeah. And they'll argue, oh, no, they don't, but they pray to Mary. They do worship Mary. Yeah, it's very much.
And I hate to break the news to him, but she's no longer a virgin.
Yeah, she was only a virgin until after Christ was born. And it says Joseph knew her not until the child was born. And then he knew her. Yeah. And Jesus had sisters and brothers. So,
yeah.
And then I also have this, it's under my notes menu as well, the origin of the Catholic Church. It is a very eye-opening thing to actually learn how the Catholic Church began, why she began, and how she incorporated all of the pagan religions of the Roman Empire at the time, including female gods and goddesses. That was the reason for bringing Mary in the first place, to appease those that believed in female goddesses. And it's a very interesting read, but we don't have time to go through it all today. Definitely read up on that, because it's quite eye-opening to see where she came from. But so one of the tools of Satan is misinformation. I mean, we know that from the last few years, how information has been suppressed and misinformation has been propagated, and it's all because they want you to have a certain mindset. They want you to think a certain way. They want you to believe certain things. And Satan knows exactly what he's doing. He's had 6,000 years of practice deceiving human beings.
And he just probably sits there going, boy, this is easy.
I know. We don't make it hard for him, that's for sure. But here's the thing. Go ahead. What's Jay saying?
He said Luke 11:27-28, King James Version. Blessed is a womb that bare thee and the paps which thou hast sucked. But he said, yea, rather blessed are they that hear the word of God and keep it.
Amen.
Right.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
That's why we need to read the Bible and we need to
I know.
believe what it says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the tools of Satan is misinformation. One of the things that he's done, if you know anything about Islam, if you've studied that religion at all, you know that they're taught to hate Jews. They're taught from birth that they're pigs and donkeys. They're not even real human beings. They're these awful creatures that you should hate. In Palestine, children are raised to be jihad killers. Walid Shubat has a very good book called God's War on Terror. He was raised as a Palestinian terrorist. He came out of Islam and converted to Christianity. And he's written this book, which helps us to understand that. They're raised to hate Jews, this overwhelming hatred for the Jewish people. Why?
Because
I mean,
because they're supposed to be God's people.
Right,
Yeah.
because of the promises to Abraham. Because God, shortly after the flood, when the world was again turning evil, chose Abraham to make a people for himself. And it was his grandson that birthed the nation of Israel. And so Satan hates all of the descendants of Abraham. He even hates the descendants of Ishmael, which is where Muslims say they come from, and a lot of the Arab nations are actually from Ishmael.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But they're not children of Isaac and Jacob.
No.
They're children of Ishmael, not the children of the promise. But he even hates them, and he's set them up. He has set up Islam for the entire Islamic peoples in the world to go to hell. He set them up. He says that he's their God, and he says that he's the God of Abraham, but he really is the Baal of the Old Testament. And there's, I think I said after we finish Revelation, I'm going to go into that and do that study again, because it's very interesting to see the exact duplicate prophecies that Satan set up in Islam and Catholicism, Judaism. They all have these prophecies Satan set up where when the Bible's prophecies come true, it will appear that it's their prophecies. So the Antichrist of the Bible and the false prophet of the Bible will seem to be their good guys. The Islamic Mahdi and the Islamic Jesus and the great monarch of Catholicism and the final glorious Pope. These are going to be the Antichrist and the false prophet of the Bible. But Satan has set him up to fool them completely. And he's using these people to create this hatred for Jews, because he has an overwhelming hatred for Jews. Just because, even though they're not God's people, the only ones that are God's are the Messianic Jews. But he hates them all equally, because God made promises to Abraham, and he hates that, and he hates all of them.
Why would Satan hate people that, well, he
don't love
hates
God,
everybody, but why would he target Jews if he knows that they're not born again Christians?
Because he hates them, because they're Jews. Yeah. And that's one thing,
he's just hateful.
And that's one thing, that the reason for some of these oligarchs being in the position they are, remember, they're just the puppets. They're the face that everyone sees and subsequently hates. So Satan has set them up to be hated by the world through this process of making them oligarchs and using them as puppets. Now he gets the world to hate them like he does. And it's, they're the Palestinians and Iran specifically. Iran is one of the biggest haters of Israel. They want to blow Israel off the map. They've
Mhm.
stated that they want to wipe out Israel, that they hate them. And they have been working ever since the internet became a public medium. They've been working, hacking, and pushing misinformation for years. They're publishing propaganda to try to make everyone hate Jews like they do. So it's no wonder there's so many people that believe that. It's all about the Jews. They're these horrible people. Even though there's relatively hardly any Jews in the world.
Yeah.
So it's really Satan that has done this. So enough about the Jews. I had to talk about that because so many people think that they're the ones that are responsible. No, they're just the ones that are doing these things, these oligarchs that are Jewish and the other people in positions in the world that are Jewish and owners of banks and positions of power. They are just puppets, like the other ones that are not Jewish. They're all puppets. So where did who is this secret society? Who is this entity that's in the middle that really is the puppet master doing the bidding of Satan? There's a secret society. There's these people that belong to a club. And there's many, many faces. There's many, many names, but they all answer to the same, what they call their God, darkness visible, Lucifer. And he's really the one behind it all. And when did this all start? When did this secret society begin? Where did it come from? So one of the things that I've looked at when I'm studying this is there's these things called obelisks. And I've always wondered, what's this? There's one in the White House. There's this big obelisk there. It's like, what is this thing?
And they're all over the place.
They're all over the world. This is just a Google search, and there's literally hundreds, thousands
There's
of these.
one in South Korea.
They're all over the world.
There's one
They're in virtually every country has one of these, at
You
least
think
one.
maybe they're a secret rocket?
No, what they are, and this is, and forgive me for saying this in a Bible study,
Yeah.
but what it's a symbol used for Luciferian worship.
Mm-hmm.
And what it really is it symbolizes a male part that is erect, if you know what I mean. That's what it's symbolizes. That's its real symbol.
It is.
That's
Yes.
what it means. Is it symbolizes that. It's a satanic worship object.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Just like the Baphomet. If you know anything about the Baphomet, it actually has, yeah.
They're all over.
So this is one of the things that's part of this secret society that they use in symbolism all over the world. Now, here's another couple of symbols that they use. It's the all-seeing eye and the compass. The compass is a very well-known Freemason symbol, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bow compass
There it is.
was the original, back in the olden days, it was the bow compass that was the symbol,
Yeah.
not the straight-legged one
Freemasons,
that they
yeah.
have. Now, I'm showing you this bow compass because I'm going to show you the next picture. I want you to look at that and then look at this. What do you see there?
Wait, can you flip up again?
Look at that,
Oh.
and then look at that.
The shape?
It's
It's
a
a bow
shape of
compass.
a compass.
It's a bow compass.
Oh.
That's the St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican.
Oh.
With an obelisk.
And there's
right
an
in the middle.
obelisk in the center of it. This is the obelisk.
So,
This is the
what-
obelisk.
Let me see the picture above that. That's looking down at.
That's looking straight down. Now I added an iris here
Yeah.
because
Oh.
it also
All-seeing
incorporates the
eye.
all-seeing eye in this construction. It's a bow compass. It has an obelisk in the middle of it, and it's the all-seeing eye all
See,
in one.
I never knew that.
I know, this is what,
All that I've
this
heard
is
about
what
the
hit me
Freemasons,
the other day.
I've never seen that before.
this hit me the other day. I'm looking at that and that's a bow compass.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really observant.
And why do they have an obelisk of all things in the middle of it?
Daniel said it's a mothership.
Yeah. And why are they illustrating the all-seeing eye? You know,
What location is this? That's the
this
Vatican.
is the Vatican.
Jay, that's a Vatican.
This is St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. Yes. And they have, notice the circle, right? I colored it in this picture, but there's a circle in the middle of this.
Yeah.
The iris of the eye. It is the actual, it is a symbol of the all-seeing eye.
Yeah.
So when did all this start? This is the Vatican. This is the Catholic Church. There's more we're going to talk about the Catholic Church here. But I want to point out first, when did this start? Right?
Yeah.
Well, the Basilica Square was constructed in 1586, almost 500 years ago.
Wow.
The obelisk is an actual ancient obelisk from ancient Egypt, from before the time of Christ. It's been around that long.
Mm-hmm.
They moved it from Egypt, and it got placed in the center of the basilica. It was,
It's an
I have the
ancient
note here.
symbol.
It was Pope Sixtus V that moved it into the square, and then Pope Alexander VII finished the basilica in 1667.
So I got a question. What does the ancient symbol mean?
Well, it's always been about devil worship.
I know, but what exactly is the ancient symbol, the obelisk? What did it mean in Egypt?
The same thing it does now.
A male part.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's always been that.
The Romans and the Greeks are really sexual people.
Yeah. And this was actually moved into Rome
Yeah.
Around like 37 AD.
So they stole it
or
from Egypt.
It was either 37 AD or BC. I don't remember. It was
Yes.
right around the time of Christ that this particular obelisk was actually moved to Rome at that time. It was moved into the Basilica Square in 1586.
So they stole it from Egypt.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's a symbol of Luciferianism. I mean, since the time of Baal, since even before Baal, I'm sure before the flood, they were worshiping the devil. We just don't know anything about those religions. But after the flood, around the time that God created Israel, Satan created Baal and created that false religion. And it's all about Satan worship. It's worshiping him. So, and then here's an interesting thing that Freemasonry began in the United Kingdom. It can be traced to 1717, 300 years ago, when the first Grand Lodge was created in London at St. Paul's Churchyard. The church installed Freemasonry in the UK.
Yeah, the church. Yeah.
Now it's interesting. When we look at Freemasonry and the secret society, it's been around for centuries. I mean, this was 500 years ago they built this. The symbol of the compass with the obelisk in the middle and the all-seeing eye represented.
Yeah.
This was 500 years ago. It's well before then that this all began. The Catholic Church has been around for 1700 years.
Mm.
And in the Vatican, the Knights Templar and the Jesuits apparently came from the ancient Templars, are where the Freemasons have their roots.
Because Annie was asking about the Templars.
Yeah, I remember you were watching that movie a while ago.
Yeah,
where they were looking for the ancient
Island.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what they actually do claim, that they came from the ancient Templars, which was created by the Catholic Church.
The Knights Templars, they were all killed, weren't they?
They were
I don't
Jesuit
know.
priests, weren't they?
The Jesuits claim that that's where they came from, was the Knights Templar.
Yeah, they're
And Pope Francis
the
is a
Catholic
Jesuit.
Church hitman.
Yeah, Pope Francis
The
is a
Jesuits.
Jesuit, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He's an assassin. Yeah.
It's all coming
Yeah.
together with this Bible study.
And so it really, the word Vatican, by the way, means divining serpent. If you look up the Latin for
well,
Vatic,
this is a come to Jesus moment right now.
if you look up the Latin Vatic, it means a
Wow.
seer or diviner.
Oh, yeah.
It's the divining serpent.
Vatican. I can see Jay's on his phone or something, like typing it in, like what does the Vatican mean?
Yeah, I encourage you to look all this stuff up. I really do. But there's things about the Vatican, the church, right? We've read stories about these massive infant graveyards, right? Found beneath Catholic churches in the catacombs of the Vatican and things like that.
That's true.
And one of the things that I always heard and always believed in the past was that, well, this was just because the nuns were getting pregnant. They couldn't let anybody
that's
know.
what my dad used
So
to
they
say.
just aborted the children or had them and left them down in the catacombs to die.
Mhm.
Well, there's so many corpses.
He said,
bones.
I am. I told you.
There's so many bones of children that it would like all of the nuns would have had to have been getting pregnant a lot in order for this to really be true.
They found that to be true. There were all kinds of baby
But
skeletons.
I know there's lots and lots and lots of them. But here's the thing. When you understand Luciferian worship, they use children, the sacrificing children, which comes all the way from Moloch in the Old Testament, sacrificing children to Moloch. And what the Freemasons in their 33rd degree secret society sacrifice children to gain the life force of that child to give them power.
Baby boys, I thought. Baby
boys. And a baby boy.
A baby can give them power.
Well, according to them, Satan gives them that power.
Yeah.
And according to everything that I've ever seen and heard and read about, is that young boys provide the most powerful force, are the strongest.
Maybe it's because of Jesus.
So they want to sacrifice baby boys.
But maybe that's why. Maybe that's why Satan did that for the baby boy, because that was symbolic of all the babies that they killed looking for Jesus and Christ, the Christ child,
and
the
it could
boy
be,
child.
Because this is all Luciferianism. This is all Satan worship.
So
this
maybe
is all
that's
what
why.
he has set up. And he actually has them set up these very elaborate circles that he puts, they have to be in and do all these rituals, and they sacrifice the child to harvest the life force.
Yeah, and the devil has a reason for what he's doing, even though it's a hateful reason. There's a reason for it.
Yeah,
it's not all chaos.
Yeah, and so I'm not saying I know what happened. I'm just pointing out things that suggest maybe it wasn't just nuns getting pregnant.
Yeah,
maybe there was something else going on.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to show you some other stuff that's very, very interesting.
Do you have more? Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Do you have pictures?
And I have pictures.
Oh,
If you know anything about Freemasons, this is their little apron.
My dad had one of those bags.
Yeah. And here's the thing. All the way up to the 32nd degree, my father-in-law was a 32nd degree Freemason.
Yeah, he was. He got all the way up to 32nd.
And they every single level, all the way up to the 32nd degree, they make vows of secrecy.
Yeah.
And he never got invited to the 33rd degree. And he was always upset about it.
Yeah, he was like, how come they never invite me to the 33?
He never could understand.
Because you were a preacher.
Because he would never do the things
He would never do that.
they do. And they use the
process.
But
he never knew.
They use the process of advancement all the way up to the 32nd degree to find out whether or not
Who's who?
you're going to be worthy of being invited into the
Yeah.
33rd.
Yeah.
And those that are not never are invited. They never learn what happens there. In fact, they'll argue, no, they don't do that,
Yeah.
because they
You
don't
would have
know.
never believed
Because
this.
it's a huge facade.
Yeah, it's a really.
And I'm
secret-
showing you here
Mhm.
that they're very much involved in the Catholic Church.
Mhm.
Here's a picture of Cardinal John O'Connor in his New York cathedral with Freemasons. Here's a picture
look
of
at
Pope
that.
Francis with a cardinal. I forget the name of the cardinal.
Oh,
That's the
that's
the devil's horn.
Yeah, the devil horn.
It's the devil's horn.
Yeah.
It's one of their signs.
Okay, yeah.
And then,
How'd you find that picture?
I did a lot of research.
Wow.
I found a lot of pictures.
Me too.
And then in the mid 18th century, the Masons, the Rosicrucians, Urkurtians, or mystics, and other orders with professed Templar origins had become so entwined that it's hard for the modern historian to tell them apart. This was from the Secret Society's handbook by a guy named Michael Bradley.
Let's see what Jay has to say. He said, has there been any figures in history that made it to 33, defected, and then spilled the beans? That's an interesting question.
From what I understand, if they try to defect, they die. So
Except
I don't know of
Altian.
any. But he never made it to the 33rd degree.
Oh, I thought he was being accepted and he
No, he never
defaulted
did.
Look at all the symbols though.
But-
Cross and the right.
Well,
This guy right here.
this is just this is the Catholic Mass in Brazil on Freemasonry Day in the diocese, right?
Yeah.
Here's Freemasons participating in the Catholic Mass on Freemasonry Day,
Yeah.
right? And they're very involved. Here's Pope John Paul II
There you go. The three
with
crosses.
his triple cross. This is
Yeah.
a deep Luciferian symbol
Yes, it is.
on Pope John Paul II carrying around. And you know what this is?
Bingo.
It's a symbol of the Knights Templar sovereign grand commander. This is like the boss of the bosses, right? The triple cross.
Yeah, that's
And
really bad.
and I'm like, wait, what? Pope John Paul
Wow.
II is the grand commander.
So this is interesting because I have to say, I don't want to cut you off, but I just have to say this. Like, he came to me and he said, he came to me and he's like, honey, I feel like I need to do this. This just dawned on me. It just came to me. And he said, I got a lot of research to do. And I honestly believe that God really wanted you to put this out here because these pictures that he found, I don't even know how he found them. That is
I've
really
doing nothing but this for quite a while.
Yeah, that's
doing a lot of research. So the grand commander of the Freemasons, the Luciferians, is the Pope. The grand commander. Think about that for a second. He's like the main man.
wow, yeah,
He's like next to
that is
Lucifer himself.
crazy.
The Pope is the highest you can get to in the Catholic Church.
Yes. He's considered a deity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then here's the thing about the Catholic Church. They're very, very secretive about their role with the Freemasons. And in fact, there's been popes in the past that have banned Catholics from becoming Freemasons. Why? Because they don't want Freemasonry to be associated with the Catholic Church, because that would expose them. So they use subterfuge and deception to bury the truth and deflect any suspicion that the church is involved in any of this. And here's I'm not just making this stuff up. Here's a Novus Ordo priest Michael Heinrich Wenninger, he wrote a book. And he says in this book that as far as the Vatican II sect goes, officially it does indeed oppose Freemasonry. Although in reality, of course, it is wedded at its core to the lodge.
Wow.
This is a Novus Ordo priest writing this.
So I wonder if he used to be a 33, like Jay was asking, a 33 degree and came out or something. Maybe.
I don't know. All I've ever heard is that if you try to leave, if you're a 33rd degree and you even hint at that you don't like it, you die. You die. Yeah. And here's a priest saying that although officially the Catholic Church opposes Freemasonry, it is wedded at its core to Freemasonry. This is a priest saying this. And then it's interesting to know that the Freemasons celebrated their bicentennial in that very square, Vatican St. Peter's Square in 1917. The Freemasons celebrated their bicentennial there in the Vatican. They've been involved in this secrecy forever. But here's the thing, Pope Francis doesn't even seem to care about secrecy anymore. Pope Francis is doing everything. He is so busy. And this Archbishop, Carlos Maria Vigano, says that Pope Francis is a zealous cooperator in the Great Reset.
Well, that
and seeks to demolish the Catholic Church.
That I do believe.
And if you remember, when we looked at the prophecies of the Catholic Church.
They're gonna
I'm going to keep teaching the truth until they stop me. But so, oops, I want to go to this page here. One of the prophecies of the Catholic Church, if we go all the way down to here. Oh, actually, it's up here. Sorry. Let me find where I'm at. It's where I've got this picture of Chrislam.
When you brought up that, when I think it was Jay, he asked if there was ever a 33rd Mason that has ever come out. Well, there's people who have plastered information on the truth about the Freemasons all over the internet, and they just treat people like they're nuts, like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
they don't care what to say because no one's going to believe it anyway.
Right. What they do is it's just conspiracy theory crap. Well, you really believe that people are sacrificing children? Come on.
Yeah.
But they do, yes.
Jody said when Charlie and I went out for a walk the other day, we walked by a house with 2 huge Baphomet statues. What is a I don't understand.
The Baphomet.
She said it gave me the really eerie feeling.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you a Baphomet here in a minute. But I want to mention this first. In Catholic prophecy, there's going to be this angelic pope, right? That comes and will actually, and he's prophesied to actually be the 112th pope from this prophecy of St. Malachi back in the 11th century. And Pope Francis is actually the 112th pope that's prophesied to destroy the Catholic Church, to destroy Rome. And that's what this person said, that he seeks to demolish the Catholic Church. And he's also trying to push for this war, because their Catholic prophecy says there's going to be a war, a just war, they call it, to drive the apostates out of Catholicism and Christianity and Islam. And create a one world religion. And Pope Francis is doing everything he can to make this happen.
Jay said they probably make them go through some ritual to mar their soul by committing the unforgivable sins, such that they are eternally damned after 33 degree. Therefore, you will die if you leave.
That is probably the truth, yes.
Yeah.
And remember, every single advancement in the Freemasons comes with oaths that
That's
you have
true.
to take, and oaths
Yeah.
of secrecy and
Yeah.
oaths of all
Yeah.
that they don't tell you about.
Yeah, because
And all the way up to the 33rd degree. And when you get to the 33rd, you make new oaths.
yeah.
Yes.
And me and Annie's dad, he was in 30, he went all the way up to 32nd. But I remember when he was climbing the ladder, so to speak. And my dad, he just kept thinking it was a club. It's just a secret club.
Yeah.
And you get new books, and he would memorize certain things and everything.
Yeah.
And he would have to pay his dues, of course, because it was a secret thing.
Yeah.
And
But all the way to the 32nd degree, they're
yeah,
oblivious
yeah,
to what
they are.
happens in the
But you know
33rd.
what? He said something to me about the Masons, and he said something about if they asked you to do something for them, you have to do it.
It's
Yeah,
one of the
because
oaths
they're
that they-
yeah, because they were a secret club. They stuck together. I mean, they had a secret handshake.
Well, there was a lot more than just. There was a
Yeah.
lot more to it than just being a little club, but that's what they tell people. That's what they
Yeah.
show as their face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So more stuff here. The Archbishop Carlo Mariana accused Pope Francis of being a zealous conspirator in the Great Reset, and he said the Pope wants to demolish the church and replace it with an organization inspired by Freemasons.
Mhm.
Yeah, and which would be this utopia that Satan has promised them, that they're going to wipe out most of humanity, and they're going to create this new utopia world where they're all going to be the leaders, the supreme leaders of the world, and and govern the new world,
Yeah, but the
this
little
new age.
Luciferians right now are squabbling. It's so.
Oh yeah, it's funny to watch them fighting each other because we all want to be the
Elon
top
Musk
guy.
and
Yeah, it's funny
fighting
watching.
with all these.
And even
people.
some of their fights, I believe, are actually orchestrated to create distraction, to do things like
that's a big
Elon Musk. His whole agenda is to make us trust Twitter so that we'll go on there and spout our mouths off and tell them everything that we know and believe. So they can
that's
catalog it all.
Oh, that is so dangerous to
That's
be
what
doing
they
that.
want us to do.
I never had a Twitter account. I've never been on Twitter, so I don't know anything. But that is so dangerous to be doing right now.
Yeah. So then, pointed out by the Great Reset has gained worldwide traction. We already know that if you've followed anything about what's really going on in the world. And a new society governed by their own laws is what the WEF, World Economic Forum, aspires to, right? They're all doing the same thing. Francis, the WEF, right? What's his name? His name
Klaus.
Klaus Schwab. His name just went on.
It's on the thing.
There. That's
Schwab.
right here, actually. Yeah. But they're all the puppets. Francis, when you look at this and you look at what's really going on, and you look at how far entrenched the Catholic Church has been for centuries, and Francis being so involved in everything, but nobody seems to notice that Pope Francis is involved in everything.
Yeah, except
the WEF,
because
everything.
They overlook it because they think he's the Pope.
Because they're like, oh no, look over there, look over there, look over there. It's the Jews. It's the Jews. Look, Klaus Schwab is a Jew. Look, that's what's been going on for years and years. One thing that we're going to look at here pretty soon is that the Catholic Church has actually taught Catholics to hate Jews for centuries because they're the killers of Jesus. You should hate them. Even though on the surface, they'll say, oh, no. We've been humanitarian for Jews, and they do things on the surface to make the world think that they're just fine, that they don't have anything against Jews. In fact, they try to support the Jews, but no. I've got some stuff about that here in a little bit. Yeah, right there. But first, before we get there, and the World Economic Forum was actually hosted by Pope Francis 2 years ago. If you've heard about these things they're building around the world and these crazy relics, these beasts that they're creating, these statues. I forget what it's called, but I had a picture of it.
What a Baphomet looks like.
And I'm going to show you Baphomet here in a minute. And Pope Francis has been involved with the WEF for 8 years at least.
Who?
Pope Francis. Yeah.
How long has he been Pope?
A decade or so. I mean, it's been a while.
That long? Wow.
I don't remember exactly when he became Pope, but it was a while ago. Yeah.
Huh.
But he's been heavily involved in transhumanism.
Mm-hmm.
If you've heard about that, where they want to chip us, and they want to turn us into little robots, and they're doing things. The Vatican is virtually doing a bait and switch on the behalf of Klaus Schwab, where they're being this public face of innocence as the Catholic Church. And while Klaus Schwab is really the face that everybody sees, but the Vatican and Pope Francis and the Catholic Church is very, very heavily involved in the secret society and has been for centuries. And we have to remember that the actors that we see, the ones that are on the stage, like Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, all of those people are just puppets. They're the puppets being controlled. And then I like to bring this up because this is what we were just talking about, in that where they're promised this utopia. They're going to control the population, reduce it by far from what it is now, and then they're going to rule the world. And they're all vying for the top spot because this is supposed to come to pass very soon. And so they're all fighting and squabbling amongst each other now to try to be the top guy when this all comes down.
Yeah.
And it's, sorcery in the Bible. I've always wondered why we don't seem to see it in the world today. Well, it's very much in the world. They just hide it. Satan is setting them up. The Antichrist in Daniel 11, he's gonna work deceitfully and make a league with them.
Mm-hmm.
He may not actually be a Freemason, but he's going to make a league with them and work deceitfully, and Satan's going to set him up to take over the world and pull the rug right out from under all of his little faithful followers. And then he's going to divide the land up with them. He's going to give them crumbs in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And stab most of them in the back.
Yep.
So then I'm trying to move on because we're going on 8 o'clock here. But so the Catholic Church has built this massive facade, right? They say that their, most public information is the church was humane and supported Jews over the years, but there's anti-Semitism going on all along behind the scenes where, like most people don't know, I found this out, that there was the Pope at the time of Hitler was called Hitler's Pope.
Wow.
And he was very involved with Hitler
Hitler's
and Hitler's quest for world domination and supporting him. It was like, what? Wait, what? For centuries, Catholics taught that all Jews were cursed because they killed Christ. You should hate them.
Oh, that's why Hitler hated the Jews?
Well, I think Hitler was
possessed
by Satan myself.
Yeah. I would say so.
But they, there's this thing with Christians having a negative attitude towards the Jews and being extremely opposed to them, so much so it can be noted that there was an extreme level of hostility against Jews inculcated by the church, which means they repeatedly taught you this over and over and over and almost like brainwashed you
Of course,
into this Jew hatred.
yeah, but you shouldn't hate anyone, but you
Well,
shouldn't
right.
be affiliated with people who don't love.
No, if you're around people that don't love Jesus and you've talked to them and they've denied that and rejected him, and you continue to hang around with them, then you are sinning.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's not about
You are doing evil.
hating them. It's about not.
You need to get away from them and move on.
Oh.
So this is a Baphomet.
That's a Baphomet.
Now this is a Baphomet
What
being
the
worshipped
heck?
by priests.
Do they look differently, or is it, or do they all look
Well,
exactly like that? I want
I've got another picture of
Holy.
a Baphomet. I'll show you here.
What is that? Is it just
It's a statue of like.
It's a picture of Satan, pretty much.
Wow. Jody says she
Oh
got an
my
eerie
gosh.
feeling. Yeah.
I
I'm
can
gonna show
understand
you.
people that worship Satan that aren't aware that they're being deceived. But for people who like that just blatantly, they are going to hell.
This is the upper
yeah,
half of
there's
an
Fauci,
actual
yeah.
Baphomet. The actual Baphomet has children looking up at him.
Like that. That's
And-
got children.
Yeah, and he has an erection.
Oh,
And
don't
it's
say
there's
that.
yeah, I know it's on live, but it's true. The Baphomet actually does, and it's all about this, children
Oh.
around this. It's pedophilia is
Yeah, that's
huge.
What
This
it's
is
symbolizing.
all what it's
is
about
pedophilia.
is pedophilia, and it's horrible.
Oh boy.
But this is a picture of a Baphomet in the Catholic Church being worshipped
Oh my God.
by Catholics.
That's just crazy.
This is the all-seeing eye in the
eye.
pyramid in a Catholic church.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
This is Pope Francis's audience hall. And what does it look like when you just look at that?
looks like a serpent.
A serpent.
Yeah.
That's his audience hall. See this tiny
Yeah,
little
I don't
dot?
walk that way anymore. I don't know what level that guy is. Oh yeah, that's true. She says she wonders what level that guy is. There's always a chance he could. Yeah, except they usually are elites though. If you sell your soul to the devil like that,
Yeah, I don't know. So this tiny little white dot down here, that's the throne. That's the chair. Right? This is a huge audience chamber, and it's set up to look like a serpent.
Oh my gosh.
The audience hall. This is Pope Francis's audience hall in Vatican City.
Do you think they did that on purpose?
Well, of course they did.
That's not an accident.
Of course
wanted
they
it to
did.
Look like a serpent.
This is the head of the snake.
Yes, that's what Vatican means.
This is the head of the snake right here. And here's the man that sits in the. This is the background in this dark area back there. This is what's there. This demonic imagery. And there's Francis sitting in his little throne down there.
These pictures are alarming.
I know, aren't they?
Yeah, Daniel said
Yeah,
these
and
pictures
that's
are
why-
alarming.
That's why
Yes,
I'm
they
showing
are.
this to everyone,
I
because
know.
we need to understand.
I hope
this.
that they leave this video up because we all need to pray that this video stays up so that
Because
people can be reached.
people need to see this. The head of the snake, the man behind the curtain, this guy right here,
Yeah.
Pope Francis. He is so busy and nobody looks at him. Nobody looks at him. It's amazing.
Yeah. Jay said the excuse they gave for that image was the resurrection.
Yeah, but that doesn't look like no resurrection of Christ. to
What
me.
does that? That looks like a
That's
chaotic,
demonic.
demonic
is what
something
that
or
is.
other. Yeah.
Here's a fresco at the Vatican.
What is a fresco?
It's a carving on the wall. It's a wall carving.
Oh, wall carving.
Serpents.
Mhm.
Serpent fresco.
Yeah.
Catholics only knew all of the. What did Jody say? She said, if all the Catholics only knew all of this. Well, Jody,
Yeah, I know.
then share this video with your
Yeah.
friends.
Here's some other imagery. If you know anything about Baal worship and the crescent moon, the Islamic crescent moon with the star in the middle of it, the Egyptian old sun worship, the Baal, the god. This is probably like the image that the Jews made in the wilderness.
Oh, yeah.
While Moses was
Baal,
on the mount.
Yeah.
This was probably the Baal image that they made was probably very similar to that. And if you look at the Catholic moonstrance, the wafer is held in a crescent moon. The Roman Catholic altar with Mary and a sun disk inside a crescent moon. I mean, it's right there in our face.
Yeah, it is in our faces, but a lot of people don't understand it. They don't know what they're looking at, and so they just don't.
And they're just deceived completely. Yeah. And this is just an artist rendering, but it sure looks. This is what, this is what we.
The head of the snake.
This is
somebody else.
This is the Puppetmaster pulling his strings.
Wow.
Yeah. So, wow. I never really saw
I
that
know.
the Catholic
and it
Church
seriously just came to him. He just said, "Honey, I gotta talk about this."
And I've known that the Catholic Church is the great whore. I know that it's almost a certainty that the leader of the Catholic Church at the time of the Antichrist is going to be the false prophet.
Yeah.
And it may very well be Pope Francis.
Mm-hmm.
But I never realized that they're actually the head of the snake. They're actually the man behind the curtain. They're the puppet master controlling all of these oligarchs and these people in the world that are just doing their bidding.
And we talked about it all the time. Like, who could the puppet master be? Somebody has to be in charge of all of this. Like somebody right under the devil. Like,
I thought it would be the false prophet.
That's him. That could be him.
And now you know why I chose this picture.
You were saying somebody else to that other guy.
The great whore right there.
There's the great whore.
She looks
the
like a hoe
master.
too.
Yeah.
Wait, where are you? Let's see. Jay said, where you got that last image? That photo is actually in the Vatican Church.
I don't know. I don't know that it's actually in the Vatican.
It's an imagery.
I believe this is an artist's rendering of the serpent
because he's the serpent
being told what to do by the.
But that would be very ironic if that was actually in the Vatican.
This could actually be an image of the devil telling Francis what to do, right?
Is that Francis?
Yes, Pope Francis.
Oh.
So, and he literally is the tool of Satan, the head of the snake. They had all of these oligarchs work for him. He is the head of the snake.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you know why I chose that.
It has a shadow on the floor.
Well, it's just an artist rendering.
Oh, so they actually added the.
I mean, I don't think that that's an actual statue in the Vatican. Maybe it is. But I don't think so. I think this is just a fake picture. But it actually illustrates.
No, you know what? It might be hanging. If you look at the top over.
There is. There's
like
strings right
down.
there. There's strings.
Oh, maybe it is an actual rendering. Maybe
Below
it's an actual picture.
A shadow.
Yeah, it could be.
And it is a shadow on the floor.
It could be. I mean, it might actually be a statue in the Vatican. Yeah, which wouldn't surprise me because there's so many. As I was looking at all these other images, I found so many crazy demonic images in the Vatican. But I wanted to just show you a few here till I get the point across that they're the snake. They are the snake. Yeah, they're the head of it.
That right there. What is that supposed to mean? That right there.
This?
That one.
I know, that's just so
like that?
Weird. Yeah.
It looks like
it's really weird.
Or something.
And there's this grand hall that has this big, huge thing that has weird statues at the top. and it's where they like where he anoints like cardinals and bishops. Underneath it is where a bunch of the saints are buried in their crypts. And but then underneath that, there's another level underneath all of these sarcophaguses in this room that has them that nobody can go in.
That's because
It's a
that's where they
secret
do all their
room
little
underneath there
sacrifice.
where only the Pope and his special people can go in. And I don't wonder what they do down there. I know what they do down there. So it's past 8. The
Woo!
puppet master
I hope
is
y'all
the
can
great
get some
Ho.
sleep tonight.
That's who is controlling the world. Yeah,
The Ho.
the great whore of Revelation.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
We talk about
Weird stuff.
and it's interesting
I
because
don't
we
think
talk
it's
about it all the
impossible that
time.
it could be Pope Francis, because when we did the numbers and we figured, that we think God is going to come back in 2032, he only has to live for 9 more years.
Yeah, he's pretty healthy.
Yeah,
he's not
dying.
dying. He's not frail. He's very, very busy.
He thinks that he is the last pope. He says
Yeah,
he's the last pope. Right?
He actually has said things. Get ready for the end times.
Yeah,
a quote from him. He's said numerous other things that indicate he believes the prophecies of Saint Malachi, that he is the last pope, that he's going to be the one that brings in the new age, and is this final glorious pope that destroys Rome. Yeah. He absolutely believes it.
I hope Jay doesn't
You look
have
at everything he
nightmares.
does.
Don't have nightmares,
No.
Jay.
No, but the thing is, God told us. That's why God told us everything he told us. He told us who this great whore was, and he even said, oops, it's here. For by her sorceries are all nations deceived. He even told us who this was. He said this is the head of the snake. Yeah. This great whore. Yeah. And
does the snake represent the devil?
Well, no, it's the serpent is the devil. And I just call him, I call it the head of the snake because the snake is the evil,
the deceiver
in the world. It's controlling all of these people, these oligarchs, and
deceived
everybody else. Yeah. So, but the thing is, I show you all these things, and it may seem scary, but we know who wins.
Yeah, we know.
We know who wins. Jesus wins. And we're going to be with him. And we have nothing to fear at all.
Yeah.
Amen.
Just remember, we're one day closer to God.
That's right.
Every
Every
Count
day.
down the days.
Yeah. What's he saying?
He said the last photo makes me think of the curse God gave the serpent. On your belly you'll move and dust you'll eat. I originally thought snakes had legs, but what if it had wings?
And I actually thought that too, Jay, where I've thought about that. He must have had legs.
I don't get scared of these things.
Yeah. He must have been a serpent, more like a dragon.
I'm just messing
where
with you.
He was a snake-like creature with wings and legs. Yeah, that's what I think.
That would be, because that had strings on it.
Because the curse was that now he has to crawl on his belly. Yeah.
Yep.
And I was looking and I found all these pictures. I couldn't prove that one was actually a picture of the Vatican, of a picture. And so I can't say that it is, but it might very well be an actual statue hanging from the ceiling in the Vatican.
Maybe it was just there for a short time.
Or maybe they have it there because it's in one of those places where a lot of people don't go.
But then somebody got the picture.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't say. But it does actually represent that situation very well. So.
Well, this should be a come to Jesus
So
moment.
that was Revelation 17 and 18. And a little bit about what's going on in the world right now. And like I said, next week we'll do Revelation 14, 15, and 16 and 19 because they actually all flow together. The wrath of God and the coming of the Lord, the rapturing of the saints. Huh?
Do you have new pictures with them?
She likes the pictures. She's like,
I can try to find some pictures.
Yeah, yeah, we like pictures.
So
that's a good idea. I think a lot of people would respond to pictures.
Yeah,
You know.
and visual. Yeah. And then we'll talk a little more about Revelation 17 and 18 because we haven't talked about the 10 kings. We did when we were talking about the 10 horns of Daniel 7, the 10 horns of the 7-headed 10-horned beast of Revelation 13. But we see that same beast in Revelation 17. So we'll talk a little bit more about that next week and talk about those other chapters around it. So let's pray real quick. Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much, Jesus, for giving us this information, for teaching us these things, for showing us before it comes to pass so that when it does, we'll know and believe and we don't have anything to fear and we just know. We're so grateful, Lord. Thank you. Thank you, Lord Jesus.
I pray that you will keep this video up, that you will make it invisible to the enemy,
show it to
that you
many.
will make it invisible to everybody that it concerns, and that it will stay up so that you can be glorified.
Yeah. And show it to everyone that's seeking you, Lord. Show them your truth. Help us to help them. Thank you, Jesus. In your name, amen.
Amen.
He'll make it happen because just like with my last video, they weren't going to let me put the whole video up on YouTube, and then all of a sudden, boom.
It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. You're welcome, Jay. Thank you for being in chat. Everybody in chat.
Daniel,
Jay, we're glad you're
Jody,
back. Jody, Jay.
Probably
Paul and Johanna. I'm sure they're there.
Don't know. Everybody else that we know watches later because they can't make it.
There's a few people watching.
We appreciate you all. We love you all. And as always, I don't care about anything except helping you to understand the Bible and to understand what I have learned by studying the Bible. That's all I care about is just sharing that.
So everybody out there, share this because Dan goes into great detail.
But share it.
You understand.
And share it in places that it's going to be seen because Facebook, I just noticed that nobody's on Facebook anymore. So go to your Gab, send it in email, send the link in an email to a family member or friend or
social, and Rumble.
Yeah.
And on because this is actually being live streamed on Rumble and what's that other one?
Gab and
Truth Social.
Truth Social.
And then there's that other one that kind of started but then died.
Parler?
But it's still out. Parler. If
I
any of
didn't know
those
Parler
things,
was still up.
if any of you are on any of those platforms, just share them.
Yeah.
Share these videos with your friends and with everyone on there to help us to help them to spread this truth.
Yeah,
so that we can
get it out there and pray before you start sending it out that God will keep it flowing and keep it
pray.
Yeah, that's what we have. We need this video invisible to the enemy, but eye-opening to everybody else.
Yes.
And our goal is to continue doing this
as long as we
into
can.
The time of the Antichrist, if it's at all possible.
Ooh,
we probably won't be live streaming, but we're going to be on the ground teaching to those that want to hear it. So that's what we hope for. And if it's the Lord's will, it will happen.
Yep. So, sister, I'm really happy you showed up too. Love you so much.
Thank you for being here, Diane. We love you.
Yeah, we do. We love you so much.
Wouldn't miss it for anything. If I have to have a stretcher right here by the computer, put my head up.
What's going on?
I'm dying. What was that? You got another picture?
You got another picture. Okay, so don't subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Please give it a big thumbs up. Smash the like button and share this video with your friends. Get it out there. And my sister has something to say right now.
Same bat time, same bat place, same bat channel.
See y'all on Wednesday.